all the fans, all the media, the Seattle Seahawks are indisputably the best team left. They had a stretch this year where they led a team 20-0 in the first quarter, another team 28-0 at half, and another team 35-0 at half. That's what Ohio State does to an FCS team. Sam Darnold got picked 4 times against the Rams, and they still almost won. Kyle Shanahan, 163 games as the San Francisco coach. 4 times he's been held under a touchdown. Twice in the last few weeks by Seattle. The roster has no holes. Even the special teams are really good. They get a pass rush without blitzing. Huge up front. Active linebackers. Outstanding elite corners. Playmaking safeties. On offense, you get power and speed and efficiency. They are young, they're dynamic, and there is one team left that is built to beat them in Seattle. One team only. The Rams. They might be able to do it because they play such a clean, smart, efficient style of football. They don't make as many mistakes as the Seahawks do. They're not as penalized as Seattle. They're not going to make the turnovers that Seattle does. They're a cleaner version. Are they as good a version? Well, look at these numbers. This is how crazy it is. The Rams and Seahawks have played twice, each with a win. The Rams have scored 58 points, the Seahawks 57. The Rams have 830 total yards. The Seahawks have 829. I mean, folks, we all knew this. I mean, about week 7 or 8, didn't you look at yourself and think, okay, Green Bay is falling apart physically, and so are the Niners. And Philadelphia couldn't get their offensive act together. And Chicago was really good, but it felt like maybe the defense was a year away. And then there's the Panthers. Child, please. This Seattle team in Seattle, cold and wet. I mean, they have made Christian McCaffrey disappear twice in the last few weeks. Disappear. The Rams are the #1 scoring offense. The Seahawks are the #1 scoring defense. It will be best against best. And in my opinion, the 2 best young coaches in football at the helm. McVay's the best coach, arguably in the league, certainly the best young coach. Seattle said, you know what? McVay and Shanahan are in this division. We're not going to hire the 3rd best offensive guy. We're going to go get a defensive guy, Mike McDonald, and he is the defensive version of McVay. Handsome, tough, culture builder, respected, player-friendly, holds players accountable while being that. So I've said this all year with Seattle. Turn the sound down and watch them play. Don't listen to the announcers or the crowd. Turn the sound down. They don't look like any other team. It's like you get the Texans defense with a more dynamic offense.
All right. I am absolutely electrified at this moment, Seattle Seahawks faithful. I am brimming with exhilaration. First and foremost, we cannot allow Colin to assert, we've known this all along, because that is simply not the case. There has been substantial skepticism directed toward the Seattle Seahawks, a significant volume of doubt, considerable pushback. Colin previously contended they wouldn't even defeat the Washington Commanders due to the cross-country travel, suggesting they were too undisciplined to overcome that journey. My reaction was one of disbelief. So, let's not retrospectively revise history. Let's not have everyone now clamoring to board this bandwagon. I am not interested in hearing that narrative. I refuse to entertain it. Yet, I am profoundly energized. For me, facing the Los Angeles Rams always presented the most formidable obstacle, the primary determinant between securing a Super Bowl victory or falling short. That specific matchup perpetually loomed as the most daunting challenge, consistently, without exception. Before delving deeper, I must express my gratitude to the Seattle Seahawks fans. Your support throughout this entire season has been nothing short of spectacular. We have genuinely cultivated an entire community on this channel centered around the Seahawks, and the experience has been phenomenal. In all honesty, it has evolved into something remarkable. I'm uncertain if grassroots movement precisely captures it, but I've witnessed its growth from a state of virtual non-existence into a tangible, passionate collective. It has been incredible to observe. Earlier in the season, I was producing Seahawks-focused content that garnered minimal viewership, a situation that was immensely frustrating. I recall reaching a genuine point of exasperation. I should revisit that particular video because I essentially issued a plea, asking, could you please watch these videos? Can you view them in their entirety? Could you consider subscribing, as those actions dramatically boost visibility and channel growth? And you delivered. Literally. When you engage by subscribing while watching and consuming the full video, this is the direct outcome. I was astounded, thinking, this is unbelievable. This is extraordinary. Virtually overnight, we reached a point where we could finally create Seattle Seahawks content that fostered genuine dialogue. This is the crucial element. It transcends mere pursuit of view counts or subscriber numbers. It's about crafting material that the audience authentically desires to watch and actively discuss. This enables us to engage in substantive, impartial, and reasoned conversations. My sole request is for you to persist in this engagement. Please continue. So we can maintain this celebratory atmosphere. I genuinely exert maximum effort in this endeavor. Witnessing Colin engage in this specific discourse now sends chills down my spine. It's a powerful feeling. Listen, I maintained faith in the Denver Broncos with Bo Nix. I hold an optimistic view of their potential. I have consistently identified my two primary teams as the Seattle Seahawks and the Denver Broncos. Now, both have advanced to their respective conference championship games. That is a source of immense personal satisfaction. I am also a tremendous advocate for Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford of the Los Angeles Rams. I have stated that organization is likely the one I trust most, not necessarily the absolute best on paper, but the one I have the most confidence in to execute when it matters, to dial up the correct play at the critical juncture, to deliver the precise throw, and so forth. And here we are presently. We have this compelling mixture of narratives. I have also expressed that Drake May, when factoring in age, health, and contractual considerations, could be selected over any other quarterback, including a Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson, from a long-term perspective. If choosing a signal caller for the next decade to maximize value, Drake May presents a compelling case at this stage. To see these four franchises now competing in these championship contests is genuinely noteworthy. However, I find the Seahawks' trajectory and accomplishments to be utterly astonishing. I possess a perpetual soft spot for a narrative like Sam Darnold's resurgence. The narrative the Seahawks have constructed around him is simply remarkable. Do not misunderstand. The Broncos have their own compelling story with Nick Foles, a player who never truly received a sustained opportunity, now presented with a chance to win a Super Bowl. That is a phenomenal narrative in its own right. A Nick Foles 2.0 saga. Drake May represents football royalty. Matthew Stafford is established royalty. Sam Darnold was projected to be royalty. His throne was, in a sense, usurped. He was a top draft selection, and despite his career not unfolding as many envisioned, he was compensated handsomely and carried that draft pedigree. By that virtue alone, he achieved financial security. However, his journey meandered somewhat. The Minnesota Vikings were interested in retaining him, but only at a substantially reduced rate, essentially presenting a take-it-or-leave-it proposition. Seattle stepped forward and said, "We'll take you." I distinctly recall the widespread criticism of that decision. The move was ripped apart by many analysts. I intend to revisit and highlight some of those specific critiques, perhaps not at this exact moment, but there is a particular take from a prominent show, First Things First, that remains vivid in my memory. I remember their assessment of the Darnold acquisition and Seattle's potential so clearly, and my internal reaction was, "You are profoundly mistaken." Every single move, every decision made by the Seahawks front office, and I articulated this months ago, has been scrutinized. When Philadelphia Eagles supporters began realizing their coaching situation was problematic and inquired about potential hires, my immediate response was, Clint Kubiak. That was the individual they should have unequivocally pursued. It seemed blatantly obvious to me, given his excellent work with the New Orleans Saints, which was subsequently derailed by an avalanche of injuries. One must always account for contexts where circumstances deteriorate, primarily due to injury. I refuse to condemn Clint Kubiak for failing to navigate a season decimated by injuries. That is an unreasonable expectation. It requires extensive experience to skillfully manage such adversity. Everyone presently praises Kyle Shanahan for guiding an injury-riddled team this season. The previous year, under similar circumstances, he could not. This season, he managed to reach the playoffs. That is impressive. And then, they were decisively defeated by the Seattle Seahawks. I strive to maintain consistency in my analysis, which allows me to feel comfortable offering both praise and criticism. I challenge anyone to identify an analyst who advocated for the Seattle Seahawks more fervently or believed in them more strongly during periods when such a stance was unpopular. That challenge stands. However, I will not utilize the victory over the San Francisco 49ers as a definitive benchmark. I simply will not. That contest was a profound mismatch. I have reiterated this point numerous times over recent years. Decisively defeating an inferior opponent, and I am not labeling the 49ers as a bad team, but rather one clearly not on your level, carries only limited significance for me. Unless it occurs in a Super Bowl or in the current context, if you achieve it against the Rams, then it becomes meaningful. When a team is objectively not competitive, a lopsided victory does not conclusively demonstrate your own greatness. We have observed this pattern repeatedly with franchises like the Dallas Cowboys and Detroit Lions. Dominating subpar teams does not automatically translate to elite status when facing premier competition. This has been a recurring theme throughout our playoff discussions, whether on live streams or in videos. Ultimately, prior results become irrelevant. It no longer matters that you defeated the Seahawks, or that another team defeated the 49ers, Falcons, or Commanders convincingly. None of that holds weight now. The sole relevant question is, how do you perform against the Los Angeles Rams? That is the exclusive metric of importance at this juncture. It is the only factor that carries any weight. I am firmly convinced that, barring a catastrophic meltdown from Sam Darnold, a scenario so distressing to witness, one would feel profound sympathy for him. The Seattle Seahawks will win the Super Bowl. They will emerge victorious because even in a potential matchup against the New England Patriots or the Denver Broncos, I believe their margin for error is not perilously thin. This is due to a formidable defense and a potentially explosive offense. The concern would only materialize in a nightmarish performance where Darnold commits multiple interceptions, suffers strip sacks, and presents an insurmountable deficit. I believe this Seahawks squad possesses the resilience to withstand a missed field goal or a muffed punt that results in unfavorable field position, even if the ball is recovered. In some matchups, such a single error is the definitive difference. Recall the 49ers versus Chiefs championship game, where Christian McCaffrey's early fumble essentially decided the outcome. Some teams cannot overcome such mistakes. However, other teams like the Chiefs can absorb a Patrick Mahomes interception because their defensive unit and surrounding talent provide a buffer. They do not require flawless execution. The Broncos, potentially relying on a backup quarterback, likely would need perfection. I perceive the Patriots as an immensely resilient team, and the Rams similarly so. Yet with this Seahawks defense, and this is a point I wish to emphasize emphatically, as evidenced in the 49ers game, they possess a championship-caliber unit. Granted, that game spiraled quickly, which invariably pressures an overmatched opponent, contributing to a lopsided score. We have witnessed closer contests between these teams previously, illustrating the fine line between a blowout and a tight game. If this Seahawks defense can elevate its performance, stifle Matthew Stafford, and generate consistent pressure, they will win the Super Bowl. I hold this belief with immense conviction. I am also an enormous proponent of Drake May's talent. He has endured significant pressure and sacks during the playoffs, yet continues to make impactful plays with his arm and legs. However, if there is one defense capable of maintaining discipline and capitalizing on his mistakes, a task the Houston Texans and Los Angeles Chargers failed to accomplish, it is Seattle's. Matthew Stafford, while battling extreme cold, was not exceptionally accurate against the Chicago Bears. The Bears' coverage effectively limited Puka Nacua and other targets, hit Stafford on multiple occasions, and forced 2 fumbles, which were fortuitously recovered. Stafford presented approximately 8 turnover-worthy plays that were not converted. The Seahawks must capitalize on those moments. They must make him pay. They must make Drake May pay for any errors. That should be the mantra resonating throughout the locker room. Make them pay and win. I will reiterate it incessantly, like a broken record. Make them pay and win. Execute that strategy, and you claim the championship. Seattle will host a parade. A fan pledged to purchase me a jersey if the Seahawks win the Super Bowl. While such a gift is unnecessary, the gesture itself underscores the excitement. It would be a truly wild culmination. Those constitute my comprehensive reflections. I am exceedingly eager to hear your perspectives. What are your thoughts on the Seattle Seahawks? Do you believe they warrant status as the Super Bowl favorite? Please share your opinions in the comment section below. I meticulously read every single comment. Whether you find yourself in agreement or disagreement with my analysis, let us engage in dialogue. Let us have spirited debates, but ultimately, let us simply enjoy the discourse. Please consider subscribing to the channel. We are cultivating an incredible community here, and I would be absolutely delighted to have you participate. I aim to build something that fosters a genuine sense of connection, something we are all authentically excited to be part of, and I believe we are making significant progress toward that goal. Also, please do not forget to like this video, as it substantially assists with visibility and the platform's algorithm. Thank you immensely for your time and engagement.